So Erica Dasher, writer, producer, actor. Did I miss any of them?
I don't know. We'll find our way to it if you did. Cool Gatorade drinker, I think, is a really important one. I'm not sponsored by Gatorade, but I wish I was. I do a lot of
All right. Well, maybe
drinking.
someone from Gatorade's listening and they'll sponsor you. You never know.
Great. All right. I'm sure I'm ready.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll cover a lot of your career in this interview. I just want to start though. You've had a layered career as far as Broadway, TV, producing, behind the camera, in front of the camera. Do you feel like your career was a bunch of series of, like, was it a natural progression, or were there a lot of pivots along the way, pursuing certain aspects of the industry?
That's a good question. I think maybe a little bit of both. I I think I'm curious about all facets. And I went to school at USC and I was a philosophy major and missed acting. And so my junior year, I think, went and auditioned for a show in the School of Drama. And they were like, "Oh, you go to this school now." And I was like, "Oh, okay." I got cast in a show and came in that way and was very fortunate to be invited into the showcase. So they have at USC, the BFAs get a showcase at the end of their 4 years where they invite agents and managers. And then there's usually 2 or 3 spots for BAs to, you have to audition and whatever, and you potentially get into the showcase. And I got one of those spots. And that's how I got signed out of school. And so a lot of it was just like, oh, I miss acting. I grew up doing speech and debate and theater in Texas, and yeah, so that sort of started me on my acting journey. And I would say I'm probably an actor first. Well, but I started working on this documentary when I was in college with my best friend. We grew up doing speech and debate together, and tournaments happen almost every weekend of the academic year at local, state, and national levels. And it's this huge extracurricular activity that not very many people know about unless they participate in it. And my best friend and I met doing it when we were 13 years old. And we were like inspired by Spellbound and wanted to make a film that was a love letter to the activity in many ways. And so we took a year off of college and shot 4 different teams in 4 different states over the course of the year, amassed 400 hours of footage, and then went back to school, finished our degrees. I graduated, started working, and we were slowly editing this 400-hour film down into 90 minutes while I was shooting Jane by Design. And again, I'm like from suburban Texas and I have no one connected to the industry. And I went from, having no idea what any of this was to being on billboards and sitting on the front row of Fashion Week. And like, that was very overwhelming. And then Andy McDowell is really who started me directing. So she would see me on set, I think, sitting with cameramen and asking questions and wanting to know how the lenses worked. And so she introduced me to one of her daughters who was a musician. I did her first couple music videos. So I think it's sort of like that. Like I very naturally, and then I became neurotic about it at a certain point. And I was like, this isn't a clear brand. Will all of this synthesize into something? And I think that it's starting to, but also meeting Keke on the Burbs. This is a very long answer to your question.
It's fine. Some of it I was going to cover, so yeah. But I'll circle back to details that
Okay.
I'm interested in. Yeah, go ahead.
I feel very lucky to have met Keke because there's something about her that I think kind of changed my life, because she just is someone who does that very naturally, who follows her own instincts and her own curiosities, and she just acts and she does so many different things, and she's not worried about it, fulfilling some idea of a brand. She doesn't second guess herself. She just follows what feels compelling to her, and she's become, she's an icon. And so, yeah, I think just trusting that natural flow and allowing it to synthesize and let my projects define me as I see, and let audiences learn me in that way. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's just that is it's all just happened by me walking into a room and saying, "Sure, I'll walk down this path for a while."
Yeah. When you mentioned that you did grow up in Houston and then you went to USC, so the friend that you worked with, was that your friend from Houston, from back home when you were 13, 14, you
So
said?
we met at speech and debate summer camp,
Okay.
which is also how I met Celeste Huey, who created the Burbs. So the speech and debate connection goes, it's deep. And but yeah, my best friend Sammy Crickstein, who I produced Figures of Speech with, I followed. She wanted to go to USC, and I said, okay, well then I'm gonna go there. I just followed her as a
Yeah,
friend,
so
and
you
I thought
followed
it
each
was
other.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting then how it all is full circle, even with the Burbs, like you just mentioned.
Yeah,
Um, as far as like when you mentioned the showcase, was that a defining factor to go to USC, or was it just the fact that it's in Los Angeles, then you're closer to the industry? Like, was that always your goal when you were in maybe elementary school or high school, saying, "Yeah, I am going to get to like LA someday, and maybe this is my path to do it"? Because I've interviewed a lot of like actors and actresses; they've all kind of had their own different like path to get there.
totally. Yes, maybe unconsciously, but like I said, I was a philosophy major and planned to take the LSAT. My dad's a lawyer, and I was like, okay, well, I guess I can be a lawyer and maybe I'll get to act one day. And my best friend's going to school here, so that's why I'm going to school here. I mean, it really wasn't some
Oh, so it wasn't that
grand.
reason? Oh, that's wild.
No, but I think, I grew up in school plays and doing speech, and so I loved it and I knew it was there, but I had absolutely no idea how to make that leap into the industry. And again, I didn't even audition for a play at USC until my junior year and had no idea the showcase existed. So, yeah, it was a bit of a discovery.
But obviously it worked in your favor. Going there, then having the showcase, and maybe those experiences that you wouldn't have had at any other university.
Absolutely. No, I was very, very fortunate to get repped out of school. And I booked a web series right away with Warner Brothers called The Lake. And Jason Priestley directed it, but it gave me a little bit of experience on set. And then my next job, I was the star of an ABC Family show. And I remember thinking before we started the pilot, oh my gosh, this is going to be big. There's going to be cranes and hundreds of people. And I really had no idea how to comprehend the scale. I kind of, intellectually, you have some idea of it, and then you show up and you feel it. And yeah, it really felt like a dream. So much of that experience did.
So then you felt then when you got the role that this was going to be something big, and
Yeah.
essentially
I,
your first leading role, and then also like what became a national or a big huge TV show at the time.
yeah. Yeah, I mean it really, like, it changed my life. I had money in a way that I had never had before, and I think that that helped sustain a creative life where I could take time. Oh, I'm going to direct and make music videos or work on my documentary or write, and that first job like really gave me a foundation for a career as an artist.
So that was the point. That was like the point in your life when you're like, yes, this is now what I'm going to do for a living, and not pursue anything related to my degree.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Were your
Yeah.
parents on board with this when you went to school? I mean, obviously you were going majoring in something else, but at what point did you tell them where you're like, yeah, I think I'm going to make a career of this and not do what I actually went to school for?
You know, they have been like incredibly supportive in a way that may not totally make sense. But I think because I had this bit of validation from the School of Drama, from the Dean of Students, from the showcase, from even booking the web series, I think that we all had a conversation that was like, I could make a go of this and see what happens. But of course, and a career as an artist is also a turbulent one, and it goes up and down, and things are shifting within the industry, within the world. And that is only something that you can learn once you're inside of it. And yeah, and you, of course, there's so many things that they don't teach you in drama school about the career of being an actor. Even something like press. I remember doing all of my first press and feeling so stressed out about doing the Today Show or going to Fashion Week and feeling like I needed to be perfect, because I think as a student, you're like, okay, I want to do my best work. I want an A on this test. And allowing myself to release some of that and being imperfect was definitely a part of the journey.
Yeah, and it became a cult feature, or it became a cult favorite for a lot of fans. And it only lasted one season. But do you wish that it had some sort of like conclusions to the show? Because I know there's been a lot of talk online, about what would have happened to you or your character, the two main characters, yourself, and what would have been your love interest and all this other stuff. Do you wish like they had at least closed the loop on a lot of those storylines and plots that never really got to play out in the end?
Yeah. We did, I think, like 19 or 20 episodes. And um, we, yeah, we left on this huge cliffhanger. And there's been a lot of, because Nick Rue and I are still good friends. And
This was gonna ask, yeah.
we keep joking that like we should start a YouTube channel for Billy and Jane and give because it's so funny. It really did resonate with people. Even now, I mean, years and years later, I'll be in New York getting an ice cream cone, or like someone's delivering my Amazon package and they'll be like, wait a minute, are you Jane? And I'm like, what? It's amazing that it has stuck with people. And I was at a theater festival in Florida doing a new workshop with a playwright named Stella Farah. We did one a year ago with Robert Sean Leonard, and we had this incredible experience. But she found me from Jane, and she was like, "Oh, I learned to sew because I watched you on Jane by Design, and now I'm doing her work as a playwright." And so it is really interesting how much it seeded my creative life.
Has your perception of that point of your life changed over the years as you kind of reflect back and look at that part of your career and how defining it was?
Yeah, I think I knew at the time. I mean, I knew at the time, I felt it. I couldn't have, you know. I remember we were shooting in Lincoln Center and there were steps going up to the Met and the opera. And I was crying before the take. And Andy was like, come, she was like, okay, we're not supposed to be crying in the scene. But I was just so grateful. I couldn't believe that I got to be there, and I got to fly first class and put on all these beautiful clothes and do the thing that I love and that I did grow up doing in school. And I was so grateful and blown away by my good fortune on the set. And yeah, and looking back, I think I also I'm still full of so much gratitude that it gave me this life and this way into the industry. And then, like, I look back at a younger version of me who was incredibly neurotic and scared about holding on to all of it and putting so much pressure on myself every day coming to set. And I've learned to let some of that go, which I think is healthy for stress levels.
Yeah, and I can imagine because there's a lot of pressure put on you, being the star of a huge TV show at such a young age. I would imagine, I mean, at any job at that age, but let alone,
Yeah.
all those eyeballs on you.
Yeah.
So I read a story about you that there's a saying that lightning never strikes the same spot twice, or always the good luck saying of break a leg, but you broke the same ankle twice, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
At the start of two different shows, right? Can you tell us that story?
Okay, so for Jane, my first job, I found out I was testing for the show. I didn't even have the part yet. I had just never tested before. And I was so excited that I was testing for a show that I was on the phone with my manager and I fell off a curb, and like cuz I was standing outside of like a coffee shop near, and it was like there was like a little step into the parking lot, and I fell off the step and twisted my ankle, and I thought this is fine. And I went to go meet my manager and I drove, and then my ankle was just blowing up. And I thought, okay, this is not good. And I had to test for the show in a boot. But I was like, I'm fine, you guys. This is fine. And I booked the part. And the pilot, I had a body double because I had to be in these very tall heels and click-clacking around New York. And then, yeah, this is what, 12, 15 years later. And I shot episode 3. And then I think, yeah, during 5, I I broke my ankle again on my way to set.
Oh
There was
no.
like walking my dog in a field, and there was like a gopher hole that I didn't see, and my foot went into it and twisted. And I was like, no way. And I went to set and I just shot all day, and I was like, there's no way. And then my co-star, Justin Kirk, took me to the emergency room after set that day, and they x-rayed it, and they were like, it's fine, it's just a sprain. And I was like, okay. And then the next day, it became clear that it was not. And so I shot the whole series, including all of the action sequence, on a broken ankle.
Oh
I was
no.
so
And it was
tired.
that's
Like, this is going to
that's
be
wild.
horrible. I know. But everybody was like wonderful and generous and took care of me. And I just pushed through. But I would like hand the crutches off and do the scene. And if you watch closely, you'll see me limp into a room or two.
You might be able to pick up on it, but maybe the audience doesn't.
The studio actually like sent a doctor to my house at one point, and this woman came over. She was like, oh, I haven't seen you in a really long time, since like 2012. And I said, oh, really? And she was like, yeah. And it was the same doctor that examined me during gym.
Oh man.
Find out that I'm Polish physical therapy is really strong now.
As much as like you must have been in pain and it affected your career, maybe it was a good luck thing, you know, breaking the
No, I
same
know.
ankle twice. I don't know.
My parents, we have this joke, it's like, well, now it's like, now you get to be a star. But I really want to break the curse of that instead of my ankles, and find something new to mark the start of a television show.
All right. And I do want to get to your new show, but first, I just want to talk about your Broadway career because you were in the play Leopoldstadt, a Tony-winning award play. So what made you want to participate in that role, and how was it being in theater at that point in your career? I know you said you were in drama when you were younger, so did it kind of come full circle for you on that side of the industry?
I mean, there's no, I would not, I could, that I got to do that is, I am still humbled by the experience. It's Tom Stoppard. We just lost him, and he was our greatest living playwright my whole entire artistic life. Patrick Marber directed it, who is also an idol of mine. And he wrote Closer and Notes on a Scandal and Dealer's Choice, all these fabulous plays. But Stoppard is my number one. And when I got the audition notice, I couldn't believe it that I was even allowed to audition. And it was a no-brainer. You just put yourself on tape. And then when I had a callback, I flew myself to New York. And I thought, okay, if just to be in front of these people for a callback was enough to spend the money to buy a plane ticket to go. I just wanted to be able to say, like, thank you. And then I got to be a part of this incredible show and cast. And Tom was with us in the rehearsal process. And theater is so beautiful. It's so rigorous. It requires an athleticism, and you get to be in communion with an audience every night, and it demands you to be in service to other people and to the text. And it really is just the most rewarding experience. And that would be my dream for the rest of my career, is to move between both of those art forms.
So you definitely want to do more than on Broadway.
Yeah, I would love that.
And it does feel like it's a different kind of pressure, obviously, than television, because you're getting real-time feedback from the audience every night, too, like you mentioned.
I'll also shout out, some friends of mine from college and I built a theater company in LA called Public Assembly. And we put on monthly shows, and have been doing it since 2017. We're a 501c3 nonprofit now. And every month in LA, the last Thursday of every month, we put up 3 new one-act plays. and the audience picks the theme for the next month. You can write and pitch shows, even if you're in the audience. And it's sort of inviting people, yeah, to be in communion with artists who are auditioning new work, who are putting themselves through the sort of gymnastics of live theater. And we built a really special community. I love theater, and I love the live pressure. It's so fun.
Yeah, and it sounds like that's a great cause. So for anybody listening or watching, I'll include the website and social links for it in the show notes of this episode.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now I want to move on to obviously your new show, The Burbs. It premieres on NBC's Peacock right after the Super Bowl, right? So I know the show hasn't aired yet, so we can't talk a whole lot about it, but just the concept of the show, and then how it came about for you and choosing to participate in the show and be part of the whole production.
Well, so the show is written by Celeste Huey, who is a friend I've known since I was a teenager because we met at speech and debate camp. And so I knew she had been working on the show. She had been developing the show for over a year. I was, in conversation with her when she was pitching the show, and then I knew when she sold it. I had dinner with her the night that she sold it, and I'm a fan. She's a friend, and I'm a fan, and I knew.
So she was telling you about
hard
the show over dinner.
Yeah, and I
when
knew
she
she had worked so hard to bring it to life, but then, you have to write the rest of the series and figure out all of the characters, and, you have to service the show and not your friends. And so I was like, I
Yeah.
didn't know if there would be even something I could audition for. And there wasn't for a long time. She was, focused on Keke, and she wanted Keke from the beginning, and then she got her, and then they found Jack, and like she started to build out the show. And at one point I got a call, and she said, I have a part you might be ready for. And I knew I would have to audition for it. She has written on so many fabulous shows, Dead to Me and High Fidelity, but this was her first show that she was running. And then you have heavyweight producers like Brian Grazer and Seth MacFarlane and their teams, and Universal and Peacock. So an actor has to go through approvals at every level. So I knew that even if Celeste thought I could do it, even if I auditioned, that it wouldn't necessarily be mine. And yeah, and so I started. It was, I think the whole process was like 2 months of auditioning and sending in tapes and waiting to hear, and then I got it, which was, I just get to work for my friend and be inside of her incredible vision. And I live in New York. We've lived apart for a few years now. And when I flew to LA to do the show, I went to her house and walked inside, and we had a glass of champagne, and we were like, oh my God, it easily could have gone this way, and it went this way. And
Yeah,
pretty
it's
cool.
perfect. Yeah, that is cool. So recording the show then, so you went back and forth between New York and LA to film?
I just stayed in LA for 4 months while it was shooting, and then but I'm based in New York.
Okay. Is that how long a show on average takes? I'm just curious, like behind the scenes of it. And I
Yeah,
assume it's every day almost.
yeah. I mean, for me, it wasn't every day. For someone like Keke, it's every day. For Jack, I think he was there most days. So, but enough that I like can't really be flying back and forth. And then, of course, I had the broken ankle, so that made things a little bit harder to go back and forth.
Oh, that's right.
But, there are days where, we're there for 10, 12 hours shooting those action sequences and learning all of the choreography and working with the stunt doubles. And so it tends to be very long hours, and it's very fast paced in TV.
And for people that aren't familiar with the concept of the show, can you just describe like a overall like picture of the plot line?
Yes. So Keke and Jack are newlyweds. They have a baby, and they lived in the city, but decide to move back to the Burbs where Jack grew up. And because they've just had this new baby, and Keke is postpartum. She's a lawyer. She's used to sort of, exercising all of her brain muscles and being in the world, and now she's at home. And I think gets a little restless and starts paying attention to neighbors, looking out the window. There's some rear window stuff in there, and realizing like there's some quirky stuff happening in the neighborhood, and uncovers a bit of a scandal at the heart of this town that is famously known as the safest town in America, and realizes pretty quickly that it's not, and becomes a bit obsessed with uncovering this mystery. Yeah, did I give
Okay.
anything away? So.
So now what else do you have going on in your future? I mean, obviously promoting the show and that's like the immediate, but where do you see yourself in a few years from now?
Like, I just did another movie as an actor. I have a movie in development as a writer that I can't quite talk about yet. There's an animated show that I wrote and sold to Michael Eisner's company. They developed BoJack Horseman, and it sort of got shut down during the pandemic and just got revived last week. So that would be so fun to do. And so we're just, moving in that direction. But yeah, of course, I always want to keep acting and doing theater. I've been in development in workshop on this new play called The Frozen Ones with Stella Farah, and that is something I just came back from a week-long workshop of that. And yeah, I want to be able to be an artist and to explore all of the things that turn me on creatively.
Do you still pinch yourself and think, wow, I can't believe like this is my life that I get to do what I always dreamed of?
Every day. Yeah.
Every day. And
Yeah.
obviously, everything you mentioned, balancing all that. So what do you do to unwind or kind of step away from it all, outside of everything in entertainment? Like what are your interests and hobbies?
Well, I doom scroll TikTok. Um,
We all do that. Which,
um,
hey, somebody might end up on this clip on TikTok.
hey, I know. Well, actually,
What?
my team has been saying you really need to start social media, and I never developed a like organic relationship with social media, but I do plan to start attempting that. Uh, so I was making some videos today, getting ready for the premiere. But no, I mean, I'm a reader. I read a lot. In terms of like keeping myself sane in between all of this stuff, I meditate, I read, I journal, I do all of those things. And I also have starting a new venture. Um, I'm building a think tank that pairs artists and civic leaders. So I know all of these really fabulous creative people and creative writers who are storytellers, and there's no third space for sustained dialogue with people in politics. And I thought, why? There should be that space where there could be a reciprocal flow of information in both directions, where civic leaders, economists, policymakers are informing artists and their work. Because I think artists are the ones that like take these complex systems that control our daily lives and translate them into very human terms. And so I wanted to see, and then I wanted creative thinkers to potentially have an effect on policy. And so I'm creating a space for that to happen. And Stephen Dubner, who wrote Freakonomics, is one of my trustees. David Siegel, who's the VP of Public Policy at Yelp, is also on the board. And Sammy Kriegstein and Nikita Hamilton. Sammy was my partner in the documentary. Nikita Hamilton is a TV writer and a PhD. They're also on my board of trustees, and we're building out this project for this like sustained dialogue between artists and public intellectuals and policymakers,
Yeah, and I
which
think
is
that's
just
important because yeah, because artists are influential, and you can spread positive good out of that, or take that kind of fame and be able to translate it into good, which I think
I
we
think
need more of these days.
so too. And it's sort of my version of participation as a citizen in this country. And I know all of these wonderful, creative, very I think people who understand how interdependent we all are, how much we need each other, and I really just want to have a platform that raises those people up And yeah, it's been really interesting that people in the political sphere have been very responsive to this as well. So I'm interested to see how that develops.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. And me as well. One last question I wanted to ask. So what advice would you give either your younger self or somebody that would want to follow in your footsteps?
Relax. And I think, yeah, follow your curiosities without judgment, and hmm, and follow what energizes you. I think that's, in some ways, meeting Keke allowed me to start building the think tank, because I truly think she just really trusts her own voice and instincts, and she acts on those things. And it made me take a step toward a completely new project that now has its own momentum. And I haven't even told her this, but I'm very grateful that I got to be in her presence for the time that I was, because it unlocked something new in me.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, Erica Dasher, thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it. And best of luck to you, your career. And I look forward to watching the Burbs on NBC's Peacock.
Thank you so much. Such a pleasure.